Welcome back, guys. Or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and that's my 2023 Mazda MX-5 Miata Club. And unfortunately, this is presumably the very last video that I will ever film with my Miata, because immediately after this video ends, I'm taking it to the dealership and I'm selling it. I'm selling it outright. It's not going to be replaced by anything. And if any of you guys potentially want to buy my MX-5 Miata Club, you can buy it at Twin Falls Subaru. They ship all over the country. They're a great dealership to work with, and I'll link them below. But otherwise, this is kind of my farewell video to my dream car, which I've owned for maybe a year and a quarter, not quite a year and a half. And today I'm going to share the 12 reasons or so for why it's time to give up on my dream car. And if you guys appreciate the vulnerability, or you like the Miata, or heck, even if you don't like the Miata and you're watching this video for some other reason, please consider liking this video if you get anything out of it. Comment your thoughts and opinions below, and what is the best car or the car that you regret giving up, getting rid of, and subscribe if you want to watch other stuff. I have a lot of other videos on my channel. There's a lot coming out all the time, and the Miata has only been a portion of that. So if you guys have found my channel because of the Miata content alone, and there's nothing else that you've really enjoyed, well, I don't know what to say other than I'm sorry for that. But I'll drive more Miatas in the future. Anytime there's a good opportunity to make a video of one of these or some other roadster, you can expect one of those. Anyways, let's get right into those 12 reasons. So this list of reasons, it's not completely in order from least greatest to most greatest reasons or vice versa. It's just a bunch of reasons for why it just makes sense to get rid of it now. The first one is I haven't been pulled over in I think about 9 years before I got the Miata. And since having it, I've actually been pulled over 3 times, and 2 of those were slight speeding ticketed offenses. Of course, I was in the wrong. I shouldn't have been over the limit at all. But because it's a little car and because of the situation, I was just going with the flow of traffic. Heck, in one of those situations, I even went to court for the court experience of fighting a ticket and just exercising the right of being a participant in the judicial system. But I still had the ticket because I was technically over the limit. But what happened that time is I was going around a corner. There was a big semi-truck. There was a big lifted truck. And I was just doing what I needed to do to keep up with the flow of traffic because I knew I was in their blind spots. I knew that they weren't acknowledging me on the road. And before those 2 lanes merged with those big vehicles, I was just keeping up with the flow, doing what I needed to do. But there's just a number of times where I felt like this car is maybe slightly more targeted than the other vehicles because, like, for instance, the other time I was also pulled over and ticketed, I was not the fastest moving vehicle, but I assume the small little sports car gets a little bit more attention and it's a little bit easier to justify that versus fighting the ticket. Also, I refuse to put a front plate on it. So there have been a lot of times where I've passed officers and I've always been wondering, are they going to spin around or are they going to pull me over? Because in this state, you're supposed to have a front plate. And I just don't think that the Miata Smile deserves that. It's kind of like a big buck tooth right in the middle, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And honestly, the next couple reasons really just kind of fall in line with that same type of situation, not necessarily the speeding because I was in the wrong with that. I was doing what I needed to do to keep up with the flow of traffic and not to be upsetting others who wanted to go faster and things like that because I usually drive like a granny in other videos. That's why I get like 5 miles per gallon better than the EPA rates the vehicles that I own. But a lot of drivers are distracted. A lot of people feel the need to drive big lifted SUVs and trucks and whatever they're overcompensating for. But when you drive a 12.5-foot long vehicle that weighs 2,300 pounds, you're sometimes missed. I mean, motorcycles are a lot smaller, but at least they're loud. At least you can hear them. This thing is silent. I have it idling right now, and I know a lot of the noise is getting canceled by my microphone. But still, it's not that big. It's not that loud. And there have been a lot of close calls over the year and a quarter that I've had where I've had to avoid trucks. I've had to avoid semis with all the interstate and highway driving I do. And it just seems to fall into a lot of blind spots. And for that reason, it's just not the safest vehicle. This also is only rated a 4-star crash test, and that was on the European test back in 2016 when this generation came out. So I assume by modern American standards and how the testing has been upped and revised, I'm sure it wouldn't score even that well today. So it's just not the safest vehicle, which then flows into the next thing. Now becoming apparent recently, I'm just realizing that, yeah, like, I don't want to just have this sit in the garage. I need to drive a more reasonable, safer vehicle, and I've been a little bit more hesitant to take it out as much as I have before because this was basically my daily driver. I have an Outback Wilderness. It's one of the safest, most practical, capable vehicles you can have without it being a crazy body-on-frame truck. And I find myself now not wanting to drive this as much, especially with how many stories there are of trucks hitting Miatas, not realizing them. How many times I've experienced close calls. It's just not worth it to put yourself at risk, especially when you now have more dependence on you. And that kind of flows into the next thing of, because this is a two-seater roadster and you probably shouldn't have children in it till whatever the airbag warning is, probably 12 or 13 years old technically, it doesn't really make sense to have. And since it's basically a brand new vehicle, it's a year old, it's already hit a lot of depreciation. So whoever buys this is going to probably be getting a pretty decent deal, especially with the mods I've added to it, which you can't really get a lot of value when you sell cars, but it's still, being a new car, it depreciates a lot in the first year. And I'm not a hoarder, I'm not really a collector of very many things, so I'm not gonna have basically a brand new car just sit in the garage rotting and deteriorating for a one drive a week around town for a date night or a couple days a week to work, when I'm not too worried about taking this on the highway and the interstate with all the accidents I see in this area because of road conditions and things like that, and all the deer and wildlife on the road that I regularly see crossing the highways in the mornings when I'm going to my day job of physical therapy, where I also work with people who have been in crazy car accidents. So safety really has been a big concern, but also depreciation. And there's 5 ways that you can spend your money. One of them doesn't make you happy. 4 of them do make you happy. The thing that doesn't make you happy psychologically is buying stuff, because stuff doesn't satisfy. And if you have too much stuff, do you have too much stuff, or does the stuff have you? So buying stuff is not what I want this to be. I don't want it to be a stuff category. The other 4 things are, you can buy experiences. You can buy time by paying for services like getting your grass mowed or buying dinner faster than you could make it. You can also give and be generous. You can also save or invest. Those other 4 categories make you happy. Buying stuff doesn't make you happy. And although this is an item, I didn't buy this as a stuff category. I realize now that I bought this as an experience category, because every time I drive it, shifting the really notchy, really good direct 6-speed manual, having the top off, being closer to nature and enjoying the open air, this is an experience category for me. But if it's sitting in the garage, if it's not driven and I don't feel comfortable driving it, it's now stuff. And I refuse to collect stuff and clutter up everything and waste money depreciating, because I'd rather just let it go, and I'd rather have someone else enjoy it than it become an object rather than an experience for me. And this stuff is just a few other subtle reasons. It'll just be kind of nice to simplify and actually drive my Outback, because there are times where it sits in the same spot on the driveway for weeks at a time, because for the last year and a quarter I've driven this basically as much as I could, which is why it has 17,000 miles on it. So it'll be nice to only carry around one set of keys that has the house key and has everything needed, rather than deciding which set of keys, what exit, what way am I coming back into the house. Just all the silly little day-to-day decisions you have to make, because eliminating more and more daily decisions just makes life easier when everything is more routine and you can put more brain power into the big stuff. But also, kind of on the same note of safety, we just bought my wife a 2025 Subaru Forester, and even though we could have paid for it up front, we did decide to finance it. And this was getting its transmission replaced a few weeks ago when we were picking up the Forester, and I also wasn't set on selling this at that time, which now I am. And it would have made sense to just trade this in as well and save about $2,000 more in state tax, but I'm getting a good deal on it, and it is what it is, and I've learned more, and I wasn't ready to sell it a few weeks ago. Even having it the last few weeks has been really nice, and getting a few last drives in it to say goodbye to the experience, at least for now. I'm sure there'll be a Miata down the road again, but it just doesn't make sense to keep a new car depreciating, especially when this car, selling it basically will pay off the entirety of the Subaru Forester. So again, just kind of a simplification, something to make life easier, and anything left over can just be invested. So that'll just help for whatever the next project car is down the road. Probably something bigger, probably something safer. Who knows, maybe a Hellcat Challenge or maybe something crazy, but I'll probably take a break from having a fun car for at least a year or two, just to enjoy the simplicity of just having a 2-car garage again. And I think the last couple reasons are just, right now it makes sense. Having an expanding family, it doesn't make sense to put yourself at risk for a toy. At the end of the day, that's all this thing is. It's the funnest car I've ever driven, but it's a toy at the end of the day. And we do so much passive driving where we're not paying attention to what's going on around us, hence how I accidentally sped a few times. And it seemed like that's the times, of course, that you get pulled over, especially in areas where there are just a lot of law enforcement, like this area. But it is what it is. And with the YouTube channel, doing that part-time, I have access to quite a few really cool vehicles. I've driven C5 to C8 Corvettes. I've driven 3 different Hellcat vehicles. I've driven a lot of cool stuff, so I have a lot of access to fun things, and there's a lot more that's coming soon. So I'm okay to take a break from personally owning something to be able to still drive things and enjoy that experience. And it's always been cool though, because This being, in my opinion, the best handling, the best driving car, you know, anything short of maybe a $150,000 Porsche. Just realistically, because even the Porsches weigh 500-600 pounds more than this, there's nothing that weighs this light that's a sports car that can do what this can do. And that's why I say don't knock it till you try it, because I used to knock it and I used to be wrong. But there's not much like this, and it was always fun to go drive this to a different town, go review a car, realize that that car doesn't feel as fun as this car, even if it's a pretty cool performance car, and then to get to drive the cool car back home. But it is what it is. It doesn't make sense right now, and I know I've been rambling on long enough. So anyways, guys, if you got anything out of this video, if you like these type of videos where I just share a little bit more, my thoughts and feelings and whatnot about what's going on in life, like this video, and I'll try to do more stuff like that. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. What vehicles do you regret selling? Personally, I know I'm going to regret this, but it's for a better reason. When you have the gut feeling that you need to get rid of something, that you need to make a better decision, especially for your family, you're not going to have peace if you ignore that feeling. You need to do what you need to do. And, you know, objectively, this is just a toy, so see you later, toy. But I do want to mention, if you guys want to buy this, I'll link it below. Twin Falls Subaru, really good dealership. Again, they'll ship anywhere in the country, and there's a reason why I work with them so much. And with that said, I wish you guys the best. I'm sorry to say that you won't see any more of this car on the channel, probably. Who knows what will happen. With that said, see you guys. Take care.